First up today, we have an update to this week's episode of Tech News Day, where we spoke about the plagiarism problem that popped up over at IGN this week. As a quick recap, one of their writers named Philip Mewson basically lifted a review of Dead Cells word for word from a much smaller video game channel and passed it off as his own. The smaller channel, Boomstick Gaming, made a video about the plagiarism and compared his video with the review from IGN, where the similarities were undeniable.
Clear as day. And this isn't the first time that IGN has blatantly copied someone else's work and tried to pass it off as their own, because obviously, y'all remember the drama that went down just over a year ago when Steven Suptic and the rest of the Sugar Pine 7 gang called out IGN for ripping off their very specific faux documentary style of videos with the yellow subtitles and the washed out color palette.
Voiceover,
yeah.
The very similar sounding
It
Steven
kind of
Suptic
just
impersonator.
checked enough boxes where it was a little more than suspicious.
Yeah.
This time, though, it was a lot more serious than simply replicating a style of video blogging. This latest misstep was outright plagiarism from an outlet who desperately needs to constantly maintain their credibility as game journalists and critics in a world where people would rather just see what Donkey has to say about things.
That's true.
Well, now we have an update to the plagiarism situation, but please be sure to watch Tech News Day, if you haven't already, for our pure, unfiltered, totally unformed, perhaps, mockery of the whole situation up to this point.
Yeah, so just a few hours after we'd filmed yesterday's episode, IGN released an official statement on Twitter addressing the situation and stating that they had now parted ways with their writer, Philip Mewson. Here's their official statement. We've reviewed the allegations against one of our writers regarding our review of Dead Cells. After taking the time to investigate, we've determined that there were substantial similarities between a review posted weeks earlier and our review that could not be justified and warranted taking down. Though we, as a community, often share feelings and even certain word choices to describe the games we love by using similar frames of understanding, this particular situation stepped over the line and is not a reflection of our editorial standards. We apologize to our readers, developer Motion Twin, and most especially the YouTuber known under Boomstick Gaming for failing to uphold these standards.
They continue. We take our review process seriously. In most cases, reviewers are expected to play a game's single-player or story campaign to completion at least once, as well as spend additional time capturing gameplay to supply content to the video component of our reviews. Though our Dead Cells reviewer played the game and came away with glowing opinions of it, as did many of our other staff members, the review itself was simply not acceptable. We've parted ways with the writer involved in the review, and we will be re-reviewing Dead Cells this week. We will work tirelessly to ensure that regardless of whether you agree with our reviews, you can have faith that every word is nothing less than the genuine opinions of our critics. Nothing is more important to all of us than your trust. So yeah, he's out of a job. Probably going to be pretty hard for him to ever find another editorial position again. I almost feel sorry for him, but this is just such a stupid fucking lazy thing to do.
It's a big cell phone.
And yeah, the real winner here is Dead Cells, though.
Yeah, you gotta admit, Dead Cells comes out of this in a massively positive way, because aside from being a simply incredible gaming experience, it's gotten a metric ton of free publicity.
I would have never heard about this.
Thanks to the drama surrounding the review of the game. And it was a review that sang its praises, no less. It wasn't even that someone stole a terrible review, like mocking the game or bashing it. Both reviews were great. And guess what? Dare I say, the re-review will be glowing as well.
Could it get the coveted 10 out of 10?
I don't know.
Find out next week on IGN Plagiarism Watch.
Now, it is impossible to accurately measure how many more copies of Dead Cells were sold because of the extra coverage that the game got, thanks to this idiot stealing a review. But you'd have to assume that the dev team is very happy with IGN's fuck-up.
Yeah, they come out of this looking fine. There's no tarnishment to their image, and they get a bunch of free fucking publicity about their new game.
Also, they're a French company who has no bosses and all pay themselves the exact same wage.
And it's a big win for socialism,
yes,
too, apparently.
Big thumbs up for communism. Everybody's happy. Oh man, anyways, while we're on the topic of bad form in video game news though, many Nintendo fans were shocked and appalled early Wednesday morning when they found out via Nintendo's Direct that Luigi, Mario's gay lover and star of the Mario Brothers franchise for decades, had been brutally murdered recently. Luigi's dead.
What?
Yeah. Sad. And Mario can't even visit his dead corpse at the hospital.
That's his
because
brother, not his lover.
He lives in Alabama, and they are not allowed to have access to each other.
Sad.
They're gay, right?
Changed a lot. No, they're brothers. Okay, so Luigi's dead. Let's clarify that. So at the start of Nintendo's presentation, which was supposed to be focused entirely on the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Title, a video played where Luigi was exploring a seemingly haunted location, like he does. From what we come to find out, is from Castlevania. Now, in the video, he spots an absolutely horrifying depiction of the Grim Reaper, literally the mythological agent of death. One strike from the Grim Reaper, you have left this earthly domain.
And that's what happens.
Yeah, the Grim Reaper was so horrifying, in fact, that Luigi just straight up loses consciousness right before the Grim Reaper attacks him with his scythe, killing him in a single blow and knocking his spirit right out of his body. Ahoo!
I would assume his shoes flew off as well, as a final curtain call.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
Did we ever get to see his nipples?
I don't know.
Well,
I know he's seen Mario's nipples, though.
We all have.
Yeah.
Now then Simon cracks the Reaper's skull with a mace, but it's too little too late. Canonically, Luigi is now fucking dead.
Yeah.
So may he rest in peace, I guess. I didn't think it would end this way, but...
It's, imagine all the, well, obviously teenagers and adults, but also children who woke up early this morning, still off school probably, and were like, there's Smash Brothers, can't wait to see if they announce any more characters. And then Luigi is brutally murdered before their very eyes, right at the beginning of the presentation.
This is like some very like 1990s comic book style shit where they're just like, we need to give our heroes more motivation, so they just fucking brutally murder someone very close to them.
Well, you know,
because Mario hasn't really had much motivation.
Luigi's
lately.
had a bit of an attitude problem recently too. They had that Luigi death stare a couple years back.
He definitely got a road rage problem.
Yeah, they wrote him out because he's a dick.
Yeah. But meanwhile,
secretly him and Mario broke up, but the studios were just keeping them together.
Yeah.
To kind of build the facade.
In fact, Mario has been seen lately out with Waluigi.
And the Grim Reaper.
Scandalous.
Oh, man. That's not all the bullshit that Nintendo has been up to recently, though, because thanks to a lawsuit filed by Nintendo against two prominent ROM sites back at the end of July, all the cards are now falling, and ROM sites are either deleting massive amounts of files or shutting down completely in order to avoid legal battles with the company. For those somehow unfamiliar, ROM files allow you to play video games, specifically classic games, with the help of emulator software. This has been widely popular since the dawn of the modern internet, but found recent notoriety thanks to those little Raspberry Pi microcomputers as a way to essentially have access to thousands of classic games on one tiny pocket-sized piece of hardware that plugs right into your TV.
Yes, obviously Nintendo or any of the other gaming companies, they weren't seeing a dime from these ROMs. But for the past 2 decades or so, it became one of the only ways that you could actually relive the games from your childhood without tracking down very old and increasingly expensive and prone to not working consoles and games. So the ROMs, they were kind of like an archive of classic gaming, and the sites that hosted these files operated with some, but not as much, backlash for years. And in a lot of cases, for the extremely old shit, they're doing so pretty much legally.
It's a gray area.
Where the rights holders are like just non-existent.
Yeah, you can play actual like games on
Go to
Archive.
Internet, yeah.
Or Archive. Yeah.
Archive.org has tons of them, just not the Nintendo ones. Yeah. But yes, now retro is back in, as proven by the sheer number of NES and SNES classics being sold, and with the Nintendo Switch on the cusp of launching its online service, which will also include classic titles, it makes sense that they would go after those sites that are hosting these files. It is kind of sad to see them go. Also, I'm not sure there's as much crossover between the pirate retro gamers and the lazy retro gamers. Like, most of the people I know who bought the NES Classic and the SNES Classic are people who haven't touched video games hardly in like a decade, and they're just like, hey, cool, that thing I used to do.
People aren't buying the NES Classic that have knowledge of Raspberry Pi and the thousands of ROMs you can buy and load it.
Yeah, also, I mean, like, even I have knowledge of it, but at the end of the day, like, if I had to choose between, like, spending a week...
It's way cooler to have the NES Classic. It looks cool. It has the actual controller.
I'm not sure which one's cooler, but one is definitely more convenient and, like, requires no fucking work on my end.
Anyways, the most noteworthy of all takedowns happened Wednesday morning as the owner of Emu Paradise, a ROM database that had been operating for 18 years, announced on the r/emulation subreddit that the site would be going through some changes.
Puberty.
And is essentially going to be a shell of its former self if it exists at all. They said this: It's not worth it for us to risk potentially disastrous consequences. I cannot in good conscience risk the futures of our team members who have contributed to the site through the years. We run Emu Paradise for the love of retro games and for you to be able to revisit those good times. Unfortunately, it's not possible right now to do so in a way that makes everyone happy and keeps us out of trouble. So this also follows in line with the two sites named in the actual lawsuit, Love ROMs and Love Retro, who either removed large amounts of hosted ROMs or brought their sites down completely. So rest in peace Nintendo ROMs, and also rest in peace again Luigi.
Maybe Luigi was the one leaking all these ROMs over the years. Mario found out, so he put in a call to the Grim Reaper. He's like, he's stealing my ROMs.
Somebody touch my games!
Anyway, finally today, we step away from gaming and over to the world of cooking, because while the rest of the world was arguing over whether or not it was an unforgivable sin to consume pizza with pineapple, me personally, I love it, mad scientists were in food labs cooking up something much more sinister and much more disgusting to look at. Now, brace yourselves, I guess, because you're about to see some straight up nonsense. This here is a smoked watermelon, and people are swearing by its delicious taste. I believe it. It actually sounds pretty fucking good.
I'm gonna show you the videos and we'll see your opinion.
All right. So apparently this looks disgusting. I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna show you.
You know it's the goddamn vegans who literally and figuratively cooked this one up. So the question is why? Let me see this watermelon.
All right. Let's take a second here.
What the fuck? I want to try that.
No, I don't.
I am very
gross.
curious. I mean, it's an abomination, but I want to get my mouth on that.
I just think it looks fucking disgusting. It looks like raw, disgusting red meat.
I like my meat raw.
I mean, I like mine pretty raw, but that's a bit over the line.
I mean, look, I like all the weird, like I like putting chili powder on mangoes and shit.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can see this working that way. Who knows?
Well, the answer to
it
why...
certainly looks horrifying.
The answer to why is that despite being vehemently against eating meat, you have to admit meat looks and tastes delicious.
It's wired into our minds.
And while this watermelon definitely doesn't taste like ham, it sort of looks like some bastardized abomination of a ham. So yeah, it somehow comes off looking even more gory and horrifying than the real thing. But whatever. The restaurant behind this vegan smoked watermelon is called Duck's Eatery, and they're based out of New York City. Luckily, they also serve actual meat as well, so there's other options when visiting. But according to the in-depth reporting by BuzzFeed and Food Insider, these things take 4 to 6 days to fully prepare with 8 full hours of smoking. Oh, and each one costs $75. Is that where they lost you, Elliot?
Yes.
If it's $5, I mean, I'll try it.
Yeah, I mean, I just want a bite.
Yeah. On the Food Insider video, they interviewed one of the chefs who walked them through the process, which involves the following.
Yeah, they slice the green rind off the watermelon, then they bring in a mix of brine of coriander, oregano, and salt. They add their secret ingredient, which is just ash from oak wood. They cook it in a smoker for 8 hours. They score it with a knife so that it resembles a smoked ham even further. Kind of unnecessary if you ask me. Then they finish it in a cast iron skillet alongside a ton of fresh rosemary. And then they baste it in olive oil and its own juices.
Its own juices.
It's brought to your table where it's sliced and served, where it honestly just looks like raw steak dripping with blood. Pretty metal as fuck, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I'm not about to fly out to New York and drop $75 to taste test this thing, but I am intrigued. It's just very strange.
If we're in the area, maybe send them a tweet. Hey, can we just try a little bit of it? Or like find a bunch of other people who are like into the idea.
I want that watermelon meat.
Hey, we all split it. We can get one bite. Just put $5 in each. But hey, at least it's not hurting anyone.
If we do a meetup in this part of New York City,
we'll
buy one and we'll all share it.
We'll all have the smoked watermelon. This isn't hurting anyone, especially animals. It's not hurting anything except the tree that was burned for ash. It's the most harmless, strange internet story about real life in a good amount of time that I've found. So that's a fun one. It reminds me of the old internet. It's like, man, remember when you'd log onto the internet and just see a smoked watermelon and be like, hey, that's something. Anyways, on with the rest of my day.
Yeah.
It's a little more serious than that now.
Yeah. Anyway, would you eat a smoked watermelon that looked like that? Speaking of old
internet, would you do this?
Or are you not hungry at all after watching Luigi get brutally murdered on screen in front of thousands of eager Smash Brothers fans?
I know, I'll be mourning all night.
Why not both? I certainly am.
I'm gonna get real sad and then have to go down to Duck's Eatery and get a smoked watermelon.
The best food is funeral food.
Yeah, Luigi loved smoked watermelon.
He did.
He also loved Mario's cock. See you next time.